Renewable Energy for Puerto Rico by Maria Alamos and Eliemer Velez. Narrated by Tatiana Fernandez. Puerto Rico is a small island with no oil or natural gas production that must suffice the demands of energy generated by its people on a daily basis. Because of this, they must import each of their sources of energy. For this reason, we must develop and implement renewable sources of energy that will help lower the cost of energy generation and lower carbon emissions, as well as lessening our dependency on residual oil and diesel fuels for the energy demands. Applying new techniques like the use of solar energy and photovoltaic cells will diminish the negative effects towards the environment caused by the pollution from fuels and should lower energy production costs. Having in mind the development and implement of more sustainable and cost-effective solutions to the Puerto Rican energy problems, our purpose is that of spreading information to the general public about these problems and possible solutions. We consider this as a great way to begin working towards a solution. One of the problems that Puerto Rico faces is a high dependency on residual oil and diesel fuels for the energy demands. Also, the fact that it produces no crude oil, natural gas, or coal is another of its problems. This causes them to import each of their sources of energy, which makes it more expensive to supply the amount of energy required to suffice these demands and less beneficial towards the environment. These problems come from the sectors with the highest demands of petroleum in Puerto Rico. These are the electric power and transportation sectors, which conform 2/3 of the island's electricity demands of residual fuel oil and diesel fuel. Because our energy generation comes from imported petroleum products and other imported energy sources, an increase in energy production costs and energy utility bills are some of the effects caused by this problem. Another one would be the negative effects towards the environment caused by the pollution from fuels. These are the problems that should be fixed in order to diminish and lessen the negative impact they cause to the environment, as well as lower the energy production costs. In order to deal with our dependency on fossil fuel oils, there are a few options that may be applied. These may be to implement and better develop hydroelectricity, wind farms, and photovoltaic cells, as well as lessening the demand of petroleum generated by the transportation sector and increasing the use of natural gas instead of fossil fuels. From these options, the government can implement the use of hydroelectricity, wind farm, and natural gas, while the people can help by implementing photovoltaic cells. Also, by lessening the demand of petroleum by the transportation sector by using different methods of public transportation. In order to fix the energy problems in Puerto Rico, it is needed to implement a plan of action. This will contain a detailed procedure and step-by-step information required to implement a solution for our dependency on fuels. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, Puerto Rico produces no crude oil, natural gas, or coal. This means that the net energy generation of 20 billion kilowatt hours comes from imported petroleum products and other imported energy sources. In 2015, 51% of Puerto Rico's electricity came from petroleum, 31% from natural gas, 16% from coal, and 2% from renewable energy. This dependency comes from the sectors with the highest demands on petroleum, the electric power and transportation sectors. Altogether, 2/3 of the island's electricity depends on residual fuel oil and diesel fuel, clearly demonstrating their dependency on non-renewable energy sources. For this reason, Law 82, passed in 2010, stipulates Puerto Rico should get 12% of its energy from renewable sources by the end of next year, from which only a mere 2% has been reached. And even though Puerto Rico has become the U.S. leader in distributed solar applications, more focus should be given to industrial and commercial applications of photovoltaic cells in order to increase that 2%. The island neither produces nor refines crude oil. All petroleum products consumed in Puerto Rico are imported, shipped in mainly through the ports of San Juan, Guayanilla, Fajardo, and Ponce. Meanwhile, with oil at $100 a barrel, shipping in oil over a long distance and then burning it is an extremely costly way of generating electricity. Fuel number 6, which is widely used in Puerto Rico, has been banned in New York for being too harmful to the environment. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, burning oil to create electricity emits about 50% more carbon dioxide per megawatt hour than natural gas and only about 25% less than coal, while producing nearly as much sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides as coal does. The purchase of expensive, inefficient fuels leads to absurdly high energy bills per capita. For example, in residential areas in Puerto Rico, it cost 16.78 cents per kilowatt hour, while in the mainland, it was 12.01 cents per kilowatt hour. Commercial areas, it was in Puerto Rico, it was 18.54 cents per kilowatt hour, while in the US, it was 9.98 cents per kilowatt hour. And in industrial areas in Puerto Rico, it was 14.39 cents per kilowatt hour, while in the US it was 6.42 cents per kilowatt hour. Electricity fuel surcharges decreased as the price of oil dropped during 2015, but Puerto Rico's retail consumers still paid more for their power than consumers in any other state except Hawaii. Puerto Rico is trying to pump up its use of natural gas. One of the biggest plants on the island, the 540 megawatt Ecoelectrica facility, runs on fuel that arrives by ship as liquefied natural gas from Trinidad and Tobago and is processed at the Peñuelas terminal. The same terminal, on Puerto Rico's southern coast, also feeds the nearby Costa Sur station in Guayanilla, which has been converted from oil to run on natural gas. But Puerto Rico lacks the expensive infrastructure, like new terminals and pipeline networks, to convert all its oil-fueled plants quickly. Worse, it lacks the capital and borrowing capacity to build this infrastructure. But public opposition arose to routing the pipeline through Puerto Rico's rugged central mountains, and the plan was dropped after officials found the terminal could not handle all of Puerto Rico's Electric Power Authority's expected natural gas needs. The transportation and electric power sectors are the island's largest petroleum consumers. Our dependency on fossil fuel oils is irrefutable. In order to deal with it, there are a few options that may be applied when considering energy supply regardless of its cost. Some of the solutions the government should implement include hydroelectricity, wind farms, and the use of natural gas, while solutions the public should implement include the use of photovoltaic cells. The public should implement the use of solar cells to supply energy and solar water heaters. By doing so, they reduce the demand of energy that comes from fossil fuel oils. The public should also consider different ways of public transportation, like bicycles, train, buses, walking, ama, carro público, etc. These will lower the need for automobiles, lower the amount of traffic jams and fuel consumption per capita, and provide a steady income for the government or transportation agency. By using wind farms, we have an efficient usage of space, and it is an agriculturally friendly alternative. Wind power is a clean, cost-effective, and readily available renewable energy source, although it is expensive. Most of the commercial scale turbines installed today are 2 megawatts in size and cost roughly $3 to $4 million installed. Plus, studies have revealed that Puerto Rico is not a suitable candidate to work with wind farms on large scales. According to Robles, land availability constraints and practical physical access to acceptable sites may limit the overall applicability of this technology in Puerto Rico. The increase in the use of photovoltaic cells for solar energy is another option, as these generate no pollution, They are a renewable energy source and are the most cost effective as a long term solution. Not only that, but it can be highly implemented commercially as well as domestically, and as it becomes widespread, implementation becomes cheaper over time. But the use of photovoltaic cells must be in large quantities or its effectiveness will be lessened. An increase in the use of natural gas instead of fuel oils would help lower the amount of pollution generated by the latter and would provide a sustainable energy source. Natural gas is called clean because it emits 50% less carbon dioxide than coal when you burn it. Not to mention it has a lower purchase cost than petroleum. However, Puerto Rico does not possess the resources to produce its own natural gas, thus it must be imported. Furthermore, the infrastructure needed to handle natural gas as an energy source are an expensive investment. A better implementation and further development in the use of hydroelectric energy as a renewable source would help reduce the levels of pollution generated by the burning of oil as an energy source. It is an option that is more focused as a long-term solution as they are built to last for decades, but it is a very expensive implementation which takes a long period of time to get results. Also, Puerto Rico has limited resources for the creation of more hydroelectric plants. We consider photovoltaic cells to be the best solution for Puerto Rico because, contrary to other solutions, it is less expensive, has a lower implementation time, and it does not have to be imported. In addition, because of its industrial, commercial, and residential applications. For its industrial implement, the photovoltaic cells can be used on rooftops of buildings to alleviate utility bills. It can also be developed as solar farms to generate mass production of energy to be distributed eventually. Solar cells may be implemented on rooftops of homes to lower energy bills by diminishing the amount of energy used that is generated from fuel oils. Its energy is ready and available for the public and can be distributed easily. Also, because Puerto Rico is a tropical island, it favors the effectiveness of energy production of the photovoltaic cells and adds no pollution. For now, our plan of action is to spread information through a website, videos, blogs, journals, and scientific publications. Puerto Rico has clear but complex problems regarding energy production. The alternative sources of energy discussed are some of the possibilities to solve these, but there are many hurdles that have kept them from being implemented, such as the Puerto Rico's Electric Power Authority's debt. To solve the energy crisis, we must all work together and do our part to strive for sustainable energy.